Welcome back to the Transfer Timer, a show brought to you by oddschecker in association with whoscored.com. I'm your host, Dan Worth, and I'm delighted to be joined by former Arsenal and Chelsea midfielder and World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit. Manu, how's things?
Hello, Dan. I'm okay, and you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very excited for the season to be back. And I can imagine you are too, particularly given Arsenal's start on Friday. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, I'm very pleased. I watched the game. I watched every single games actually. So I was very happy so far with their display, the way they get this victory easy. I think we can say after the Charity Shield that Arsenal are ready, for the Premier League, and I still see the same ingredients, into this team that make them, champions last season. So yeah, very happy so far. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, let's start there then. Do you think Arsenal can go back to back? Do you think they
Back to back, yeah, definitely. Just like Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. I
Yeah,
think they have the quality, the transfer markets gave them, a great opportunity to add more value and to the squad. The confidence is there. They broke the line last season by winning the Premier League. So it's not the same approach, this season for the players because they're not expecting them, to win after 25 season. I can't remember.
Mhm.
They did it. So this is something, on your shoulders that it's easy to live with that. And on top of it, the way they play. So back to back, yeah, definitely, because I see the transfer signing. I see the confidence. I see the DNA of the team, the ambition of the club and the players. It's kind of relief, to won they've won, the Premier League last season. So everything all together, I think I think they have the best squad into the Premier League on top of it. So yes, back to back, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, nice. It's pretty hard to argue with you. Based on what you saw on the opening weekend, because quite a few shocks, do you see anyone there really capable of pushing Arsenal, or do you think it could be one more
Yes,
pick?
yeah, it's a long season. Winning the Premier League, it's a long way into the desert. Yeah, so I said it, a couple of days ago. I said Chelsea would be probably the toughest opponent, for Arsenal because they don't play the European competition. They have a really good squad. I think the transfer market is not finished yet. I think we will. I think we will see more surprise coming to Chelsea. But I think they have something to prove. The players, Alonso as well. After he fell, at Real Madrid, we expect him, to come back the way he was in Germany. So he has a lot of things to do, on off the pitch, to get the best of his players on the pitch. But in the meantime, after this terrible season last season, and in terms of behavior as well on the pitch, but the results, the mental strength, how they failed so many times into the game. So I think if I look at the opponent for Arsenal, I will put probably Chelsea first because they don't play European competition and they have something to prove this season.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about Mikel Arteta then. You mentioned he finally got the Premier League win last season. Do you think he can go on and sort of maybe not match Arsene Wenger because obviously he
I
achieved so
think,
much?
yeah, I think Arteta could be the next Guardiola.
Yeah, nice. And continue to do it like time and time again.
Maybe many people will disagree with me, but I believe the way he works with his team, the way he gets into their minds, the way he wants a proper football, DNA on the pitch, the demands, is very, he's very tough with his players, but in the meantime, he's close to his players. And that reminds me somewhere Arteta. And you get the same passion as well on the bench. And it's been working for years now at Arsenal. And step by step, Arsenal came back the way they should belong. Like I remember, when he took over as a manager, Arsenal were not even on the European competitions. We were so far away from our identity. So yes, I think Arteta, with his squad, with his ambition, the fact he won it because the system that makes a huge difference, because the fact they won the Premier League make him stay, at Arsenal. I definitely believe that Arteta could be the next Guardiola.
Yeah, very nice. Martin Odegaard then, obviously very good in the 3-0 win over Coventry. Suffered a little bit last season with injuries and
Yep.
things, but do you think a fully fit Odegaard is one of the most important players in this?
Yes, yes. I think I was very pleased as well during the World Cup with Norway. The way he plays, the way he put the tempo, into the game, his vision, his creativity, the links he can have, with some players on the pitch. Last season we missed him as well with Saka. I think the duo, were so productive, for the team. So if he's not injured, I think he's one of the best creative midfield, in the world. I think I can see his talents. I'm not the only one to see that. The only problem he has to avoid injuries.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There have been a few rumours this transfer window that Miles Lewis-Skelly might be on his way out, although we've seen him play a little bit. Do you think that'd be a big loss for Arsenal? Because obviously he's
a big loss. I won't say that. It would be a loss, yeah, but a big loss. I'm not sure because they have many talented players into the squad that can play different position on the pitch. But he came from the academy, and I know it can be stupid sometimes to say that, but I think it's very important nowadays, not even for the fans, but even for the players into the club, And I think the first game he played, it was not a surprise for me that Arteta put him in the first 11. He could have put another players, with so many options on the bench. But the way he was into his game, his commitment, the way he celebrates as well, something, on the pitch. I think Arsenal, I would see him to stay at Arsenal because I think he's a nice lad and I think he loves Arsenal. But in the meantime, what's the fee for that? 60 million, 50 million?
million.
Yeah, well, they have so many midfield players, Arsenal. It would be very tough, to get into the first 11. But he can play as well left back.
Mm-hmm.
So I will keep him.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think so. One of the exciting players that's come in then is Christos Zolis. Hit the ground running, looks really good. Do you think he has what it takes to become one of the best singers in the Premier League at the moment?
Yes, definitely. He has quality. He's intelligent tactically, his movement as well, techniques. The way he runs with the ball. He reminds me. Take care, guys. I know that you're gonna jump on your seat, but it reminds me sometimes Kvaratskhelia, with Paris Saint-Germain. The way he runs with the ball, the way he tries to unbalance, his opponent, sometimes. And with him, we have something quite different with some wingers at Arsenal. When he get past over his opponent, when he crosses the ball, he knows exactly where he wants to put the ball. That makes a huge difference, and it will bring something very, very interesting. And again, I hope he won't be injured because there is only Martinelli, on the left hand side. So
yeah, pray for him. Well, you mentioned Martinelli then. It's interesting. Where does that leave Martinelli? Do you think he sticks around at Arsenal or do you think he heads out?
I think it's time Arsenal is over. Unless, he has no choice but to stay at Arsenal. And when the opportunity comes, he show his quality. He did, a couple of years ago with Arsenal, but he never improved after that. So he sticks, somewhere, and he's kind of lost in transition sometimes, So I think for the best interest of both parties, I think he should leave. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Last player that we're going to talk about in this section then is Victor Gyökeres. Do you think he's the man to lead the line for Arsenal this season?
Well, they won the Premier League with him, no? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
They reached the Champions League final with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he has the quality to improve. It was not easy, with the expectation, with the fear as well on his shoulders. When he came, people wanting him to score exactly the same goal he used to score in Portugal. It's not the same league, with all the respect I have for the Portuguese league. I think he give 100% on the pitch all the time. He's not the best striker in the world, but it brings you something, that can be very important, for Arsenal on the pitch. He can score goals as well, he can improve, his stats about that, the assist as well. But the work he's doing so far up front, that amazed me, because how many runs he makes per game, without receiving the ball. So I would chase for another striker, but I will keep Gyökeres. For me, Gyökeres is not the problem. It's Jesus the problem,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Having anchored one of the best Premier League midfields with Patrick Vieira, who do you think right now is the best midfielder or the best midfield partnership in the Premier League?
I really like Rodgers and Palmer, the way they started together. I loved it. Obviously, I'm a huge Gunners, and I'm a big fan of the midfielders, Arsenal. I think they have so many qualities, different qualities, but if you ask me, actually, after the first game of the season, this is your question, right?
Yeah.
In general.
Well, I guess in general, but the first game is fresh.
In general, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Declan Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So you can put Declan Rice with whoever you want, if Odegaard is at his peak, 100% fit. I think I really like as well some Manchester City midfield players, just like Cherky, for example, his link with Haaland. So there is so many to take, just to pick one or two, and on top of it, it's just the beginning of the season. So, but so far, if you ask me the question in general, I gave you an answer. But if you ask me the question after one game, I would probably say Rodgers and Palmer. I really like their game against Fulham. Yeah.
Yeah, they look very exciting. Well, let's talk about Chelsea for a bit. Spent quite a lot of money in this window, over 300 million. Do you think spending that much money means that if you don't finish in the top four, it's a bit of a failure?
Is it a question for Liverpool?
Well, it might be, yeah. They need to spend a bit of money.
There's English clubs are so powerful, financially, so they can spend hundreds of millions, every transfer market. I mean, it's been years that Chelsea has spent a lot of money. It's probably one of the most, biggest spenders, in the Premier League. 300 million spent on the transfer market. Last season, no qualification for Europe. I think, there is big expectation, and that's what I said before. The players own a revenge, to their fans and to themselves too. I don't get it sometimes when I see those kind of players winning the World Cup club, in the European competition 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden they failed the following season. So, yeah, definitely it will be a failure for me if they don't reach at least the Champions League spot. But they have to compete as well for the Premier League because, as I said before, the Chelsea will be probably the toughest opponent, for Arsenal this season.
Yeah, nice one. After the Fulham game, there was a lot of positives about Chelsea, but one player that came under a lot of scrutiny is the
goalkeeper.
Yeah, do you think Chelsea need to sign a new goalkeeper in this window to really challenge?
He looks nervous, huh? Against Fulham, huh? I still don't get it, the first goal he conceded.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either.
I mean, even his own teammates, they were so surprised and shocked. So it's the same story with Sanchez, he can make miracles sometimes, but the next games, even the same game, he can make terrible mistakes too. So how many points he earned for Chelsea last season or the last 2-3 seasons? I don't want to be mean, with him, but I think it's time for him to leave. But I would have loved to see Chelsea, fighting to get a proper international top goalkeepers from the start of the transfer market. I think they realized after the Fulham game that if you don't have the talent to call Palmer, Rodgers, the Brazilian guys up front, I mean, if you don't get him, individuals, you can make differences. win games for you, then those kind of mistakes, 80% of team that concede goals like this, they lose game.
Yeah.
Against the top team, do you think Chelsea would have won, the game against Fulham? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I completely.
And they deserve to win that game. Obviously, they should have scored at it 7, 8 goals.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, one more on Cole Palmer then. Do you think this season he could get himself into contention for the Ballon d'Or against some of the best in Europe? Cole Palmer.
If he comes back the way he was two seasons ago, yeah. It's the same with Foden, with City.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very unhappy, with City Foden game, at home. But Cole Palmer makes me, wow, I thought to myself, every time he gets the ball, there is a danger. He creates everything up front, even the way he was fighting back the ball, I love it. He was powerful, with the ball. He was full of energy, and full of creativity, always asking the ball everywhere in the middle of the park. He wanted to play. He was happy to play, and we saw it. I want him to keep the same mental strength, We want you to play exactly the same way every single game. I want him, to come every single game with the same desire. If he's got this desire, he's one of the best in the world in his position, definitely. And Chelsea needs leaders, and he has to be one of them. I think this is it now. I think he missed the World Cup. I think he has to understand that being talented is one thing, but fighting hard, to see your talents on the pitch is something different. And he has to understand that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Last one on Chelsea then before our game. They have offloaded Liam Delap to Nottingham Forest for £45 million. Do you think Liam Delap is worth that fee?
Because he comes, from Chelsea. I can't remember how much they spent, to took him from Ipswich.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember that.
Yeah, I think they made a profit with this £45 million.
They made a profit after the season he had, with Chelsea.
Yeah,
I think he's a good player, but did he have the talent, to fight at Chelsea? Too many competition, too many quality, up front. Even there is a curse, on number 9. Maybe it would change this season, But for Delap, I think the step was a little bit too high for him, at Chelsea. Probably too soon. Not too high, too soon. I think he still have the quality, to play for top clubs. But I think the step between Ipswich and Chelsea is too big.
Yeah, makes sense. Right, this show then, we've got a little game called Pay or Pass. I'm going to give you a player and a team and the price, and I want you to tell me what they would bring to that team and pay or pass. So we'll start with Arsenal, and the player is Julian Alvarez. Is £130 million. Would you pay or pass?
Beautiful players, great movement, intelligence. He's got speed, techniques, visions. He can score many goals. He can give assists. His movement, I love his movement. It's kind of difficult and hard sometimes to get intelligent players on the pitch that understand the DNA of the team. Arsenal have a proper DNA on the pitch, and when they buy top players, they have to fit into the system. And I think Alvarez will be perfect, for Arsenal. The way he plays, the way he moves, the way he comes back into the pitch, the way he tries to get the links, the movement. And I think he's clinical as well, when he gets into the edge.
Yeah, very nice. Next one for Arsenal then is Victor Osimhen at £100 million.
But different players, not the same quality than Alvarez. He will bring a powerful presence up front. Speed, he's fast, he's a fighter, he's got a bad temper as well, a strong personality. So it will bring something different than Alvarez, but it's two different options, but both of them, I like it.
Nice. Well, let's move on to Chelsea then. Alex Scott from Bournemouth at £80 million.
Pass.
Yeah, fair enough. But we spoke about maybe a need for a goalkeeper. We've got Emi Martinez from Aston Villa, only £10 million.
Only. Well, every time people ask me about Martinez, I always think about the national team,
Yeah.
and the antics, again, during the World Cup, but the way they treated, the French national team as well, the last World Cup, in Qatar. We have a long history, with Martinez. So, but I have to be honest with you. I like the goalkeeper, even when he does, his antics, try to get into opponents' minds all the time, try to do a bad behavior on the pitch. But in the meantime, I think he has the personality, he has the leadership, needed, And at Chelsea, that could be something interesting, his anger, his ambitions, he's not scared of talking to the players to say to them what he thinks. It would have been great to see that, and the leadership, with Fernandez as well, in the middle of the park. But is he going to leave Chelsea? I have no idea. But definitely, if Chelsea has to change the goalkeeper, Martinez could be an option.
Yeah, very nice. That's it for transfer time, and then we'll move on to our next one. Looking at some of the signings that have already been made. We already spoke about Zolis, but a player that we didn't speak about is Bruno Guimaraes. Do you think he's worth the fee, and do you think he brings a lot to Arsenal?
Yeah, I think he's a top midfield player. I think we still have to wait a little bit to see the pinnacle of his quality. I think he's got everything that Arsenal wants, personality, character. He's got the vision. He's got great passing. And again, as well, he showed great character, attitude as well to get back the ball. So is he going to be in the first 11? I'm not sure, actually. There is so many top players, in midfield. Arsenal, competition to earn your place is really, really, really difficult. But Arsenal will need a turnover during the season when you play every 3 days. Definitely, to keep the engine, and I think it will suit perfectly into Arsenal.
Yeah, nice.
He has to raise his football anyway. Newcastle was a good step for him. Now he has to play, for those clubs who fight for the biggest prizes. That's why I think this experience Arsenal will give him probably the opportunity to rise and to get to the next step, because I still believe he has something more to bring.
Yeah, nice. Also brought in Ezri Konsa with Saliba out for a little while.
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah, good
target, yeah.
Nice. Do you think he's going to be starting? Obviously, probably will in the absence of Saliba, but when Saliba returns, will Konsa drop to the bench?
Again, the same with Guimaraes, it's a top buying. Really like him. He's a strong, he's a proper defender, and we saw what happened with Arsenal for the last 3-4 seasons when they missed, the targets against City or Liverpool. They were missing top players in the spine of the team, and the central defenders one of the biggest problem all the time. And Saliba is still injured for weeks now. They need to get top defenders, that could be into the rotation. That this is somewhere, kind of chance, for Arteta, when you play so many games like that, you make your players happy by making a turnover. But the last few seasons, he couldn't do that because he was always playing with the same first 11. So this is very important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Chelsea then, Morgan Rogers, most expensive English player ever. Do you think he's worth the money, or do you think Chelsea might have overpaid?
Well, I don't know what is the real price for players. Well, what I do know that we have passed the 100 millions, line. That makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes with the money involved into football. I think sometimes it's becoming ridiculous. And is it worth, that kind of money? I have no idea. But it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
This is the only thing I can say.
Yeah, it's crazy figures, really. Chelsea also signed Maxence Lacroix from Crystal Palace. He was their highest rated defender last year. Chelsea had a few defensive problems last season. Do you think he comes in and solidifies that back line?
I think he was one of the best player against Fulham, honestly, and he was not really for his first game. I thought he was the best defender,
Mm.
one of the best players for Chelsea against Fulham, and I think okay, he gave an assist. The way
Yeah.
he passed, the defender. Um, that show to me, the personality, the character. He wants to make a big impact. He wants to resolve. Is he going to be the one that can solve the Chelsea problem? Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can play with the same attitude, the same commitment, then he can become, the boss into the defense, and he can send a sign, to other players into the team. I have ambition. I want to win trophy. I'm here at Chelsea to win things. I can show you the great attitude on the pitch. So he showed it against Fulham. So yes, definitely. I think we still have for him, this is something new. 2 years ago, he was not famous.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, he came into the national team with France. He was at the World Cup, didn't have the chance to play a lot of minutes. But in the meantime, every time he had to play, he played well. And that's why I think it's kind of discovery for every one of us, But he has the quality to become the best defender at Chelsea. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nice. And Jordan Henderson, then, we spoke about needing leaders. Do you think he can bring some leadership qualities to Chelsea?
Yeah, but he has to play sometimes. As I said before, they don't play European competition. So that means one of the biggest problem, for Alonso will be at how I will make my players happy during the season. Henderson is not the third choice. He will play a couple of minutes, but if you want to be heard by the players into the dressing room, if you want to be respected, it doesn't matter if you have a name, but you have to play. That reminds me, when I play with different clubs, and I saw some players, getting into the end of their career, and they were legend. They had a great career, but they didn't have much chance, to play. And all of a sudden, the image changed into the dressing room. So Anderson has to play. This is for me important. You cannot always be there, to give advice, things like this, with your teammates. You have to play on the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. Another question I've got here then is, can you see any similarities between Mikel Arteta and Arsene Wenger? And if so, what are they?
The DNA, the way they want Arsenal to play. I remember when I first came to England, people used to come to me and say, and they were laughing, saying that, what was the brand for Arsenal in the past? 1-0 for Arsenal, boring Arsenal. Kick and rush.
Mm-hmm.
So the DNA, Arsene transformed that club, the DNA of this club. And I think Arteta wants his players to play beautiful football on the pitch. Those two managers want their players to enjoy what they're doing on the pitch. But there is probably one more similarity, with Arsene Wenger, is they want to take the best of their players, so they want to get into their mind. That means they are not only concentrate about the players, they are concentrate about human beings. But this is for me the two similarities. There is a big difference between the two of them. I think Arteta can be ruthless, with his players. He did it, with Aubameyang, his captain. And he can show no emotions to his players, when it comes, Arsene was different. He was not the first one to get into a fight with his players. Arteta doesn't care about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. All right, before we go then, I would like you to give me one realistic signing that Arsenal and Chelsea should make, one each, this window before it closes early next week. So if we start with Arsenal, who should they sign?
Well, they won't get him. But Nico Williams.
Yeah, very nice. And what about Chelsea?
Chelsea, I will probably Chelsea. That would be a midfield player and a goalkeeper. Except Martinez, I would probably see. I don't know if Fernandez will leave, but yeah, I would probably say Tchouaméni, for Real Madrid.
Yeah, nice. Good shout. All right, thanks very much, Manu. That was very enjoyable, and thanks everyone.
Sorry for the delay.
All good. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
You too.